Best pound-for-pound boxer in the world, a title first given to the great Sugar Ray Robinson. A subjective measure of talent that provides boxing fans the opportunity to compare and argue about who is the best fighter in the world. Pernell Whitaker is often mentioned among the best pound-for-pound, so we asked Pernell for his own top 10 reasons why he considers himself boxing's best.
Number 10, my near-perfect record.
The only blemishes on Whitaker's record are two controversial decisions, one a loss, the other a draw. In the eyes of most boxing experts, Whitaker won both.
Number 9 and 8, my hand and foot speed.
With the possible exception of Roy Jones Jr., no other fighter possesses the blurring hand speed. None is more fleet of foot than this welterweight sensation.
Number 7, just try to hit me.
Getting in and out, ducking and squatting. There is no other fighter with defensive skills like sweeping.
Number 6, no one can match my move.
Already the showboating from Whitaker, who threw a punch behind his back.
Number 5, I never give up.
On the 4 occasions when Whitaker has been knocked down, each and every time he's gotten up to win.
Number 4, my 4 titles.
In all of boxing history, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, and Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker are the only fighters who have won titles in 4 different weight classes.
Number 3, my jab.
Working off a snapping jab, Whitaker neutralizes his opponents by making his statement first.
Number 2, position.
At 31 years of age, Pernell has never shown any sign of fatigue. His last 5 fights have gone the distance, and in each case, his strength has increased in later rounds.
Number 1, I leave that one for Gary Jacobs to answer.
Atlantic City Convention Center in Atlantic City, New Jersey, HBO Sports presents World Championship Boxing as Pernell Whitaker, winner of titles in 4 different weight divisions, defends tonight his welterweight crown against top-ranked challenger Gary Jacobs of Scotland. It's scheduled for 12 rounds. Off of the boardwalk, upstairs in the intimate room in which Whitaker appeared in March and won a 154-pound world championship from Julio Cesar Vasquez. He surrendered that title. Now he prepares to defend his 147-pound championship against number 1 challenger Gary Jacobs. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. We welcome you to the latest installment in Pernell Whitaker's ongoing argument for his preferred status as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the sport. Totally fitting, then, that working with us tonight in the absence of George Foreman, who takes the night off, is the man whose name is most often mentioned in the same sentence with Whitaker's in that argument, 168-pound world champion Roy Jones. And Roy, it lit Pernell up when you walked into his room yesterday. Obviously, this ongoing competition between the two of you for the title of best pound for pound is motivating both you and Sweet Pea Whitaker.
Yes, it's a very, very, very motivating factor. It's something that gets us up, makes us want to go out and perform, look like a great champion, look good against the guys who are not supposed to give us the best challenges. It gives you another reason to go home, train hard, get yourself in the best condition, because, hey, you can't let that guy outdo you.
Kind of gives Whitaker some fuel to burn on tonight as he goes against a guy who fought on the undercard of his Vasquez fight in March and didn't get good reviews. Most experts not expecting Jacobs to give Whitaker much of a test. He said yesterday he'll try to make Pernell fight all 3 minutes of every round. You give him any shot?
Well, you have to give a guy a shot. If he has the heart and courage enough to come inside the ring and face another guy, then you have to give him a shot. But when you're dealing with a guy such as Pernell Whitaker, who is, like I said, one of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the world today, it's very difficult for a guy who is not at that top level to stay in the ring and even have much of a chance.
One of the two best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, you think Pernell is?
One of the two.
All right, Roy, we'll look forward to working with you again. Also working with us tonight, HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. And Larry, I'm going to ask you to comment on the content of our feature piece before we lead to the feature piece, because the subject is obvious. Is Pernell Whitaker, with all of his accomplishments, simply too good for his own good?
Beats everybody, wins everything, got rich. That should be the worst problem he ever has, Jim. But it's true, when a pure boxer like Pernell Whitaker paints that canvas in the ring with artistry rather than blood and guts, there are always people who are going to say, well, he's a little too perfect for the game. The thing is, we are always hoping or expecting or thinking that he is going to be severely tested, whether it's up against a very good champion like Buddy McGirt, or an outstanding champion like Julio Cesar Chavez, or a bigger champion like Julio Cesar Vasquez. And yet he always aces the test. No matter how high they put the bar, he soars over it. And yet at the same time, he's 31 years old, an age at which most champions in the smaller divisions begin to lose a fractional step. And sooner or later, probably sooner, he will be tested. Maybe not tonight, but it's going to happen in the near future. Perfection, they say there's no room for it. I could stand a few more examples of his perfection, Jim.
Yeah, 6 of the last 7 fights going the distance against tough opponents, but Pernell, as has customarily been the case throughout his career, winning virtually every round in those championship fights. Again, is he too good for his own good?
I never really understood how you can be too good for your own good. If you're good, you're good. You're never too good for your own good.
Sounds logical in most fields of endeavor, but boxing is a sport in which talent is scarce, network exposure sporadic, and a shrinking fan base is disgusting with mismatches and controversial decisions. So Pernell Whitaker finds himself struggling to maintain his prominence and his dominance in the twilight of his career. Like a futuristic mechanized robot, he forges ahead despite the obstacles his success has created. Since Whitaker's pro career began almost 11 years ago, his skills have repeatedly reduced legitimate contenders to overmatched pretenders.
They have put some great fighters in there with me to test me. You know, not to say that they didn't try to put the best in there with me. They did. Just no one could get the job done. You know, and I can't afford them. You know, you just have to give me credit.
Another fallout from Pernell's domination is that nobody wants to fight him. Combine that with the business of boxing in the 90s, and the few credible opponents out there might never step into the ring with Whitaker.
The problem is that some of the good opponents that are available for Pernell are with Don King, who refuses to have his fighters fight for HBO, so that way those fights are prevented from happening. I think he uses it as an excuse that he refuses to have those fighters fight for HBO because he knows that Pernell would beat Julio Cesar Chavez. He knows he beat him once already very easily, and he'll do it again. And he knows that Pernell would beat Felix Trinidad.
Unlike his predecessors, Leonard, Duran, and Hearns, Whitaker continues to wait for a great opponent to challenge and verify his ring superiority. Meanwhile, the boxing spotlight now appears focused on new faces and Mike Tyson. It's a no-win situation for the 31-year-old welterweight champ, but it might explain why this fight against Gary Jacobs, an unheralded challenger from Scotland, takes on special meaning.
I think for this fight, I'll reach back into the closet again as I did for the Chavez fight. I want to do some things out there that can make the fans' heads shake again. Just say he can keep going and going and going. And I want to go out there with the pizzazz. I want to have the slickness and the moves, the angles, the dips you do, and all my antics that I've had prior. That's what I want to have for this fight.
We've heard promises of a different Pernell before, but even a change to a more aggressive style has drawn little attention for a variety of reasons, most of which are beyond his control. The reigning pound-for-pound king is fast becoming boxing's forgotten star. But, like the futuristic mechanized robot, this pugilist continues going forward, fight after fight after fight. And we bring you back live to ringside in the Atlantic City Convention Center. The tail of the tape shows that Pernell Whitaker is 2 years older than Gary Jacobs. Jacobs 2.5 inches taller. The 3-inch reach advantage for Jacobs. Most experts discounting those physical statistics, saying that Gary Jacobs simply doesn't have the stuff to fight with a man like Pernell Whitaker. Larry?
But Jacobs is one of the most supremely fit fighters I think I've ever seen. He says he can run a mile in 4 minutes. If he can do it in 4:59, I'd consider it remarkable.
Punch stat numbers.
And they tell the story as well. In his last 3 championship fights, Whitaker has been quite remarkable in terms of his activity and accuracy. Jacobs is not in that kind of a league. And that's reflected especially in the jabs. Jacobs uses it as a radar. For Whitaker, it's a real weapon that sets up everything he does.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Pernell Whitaker-Gary Jacobs fight is scheduled for 12 rounds. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim!
All right, Harold, and there's a Scottish bagpipe playing somewhere in the building now as this man, Gary Jacobs of Glasgow, Scotland, prepares to make his entrance into the ring. On March 4, he fought Jose Fernandez, a club fighter, journeyman from the Bronx, won a 10-round decision here and impressed no one at ringside, though he cut his hand badly during that fight. He says early in the fight and had to fight most of the rounds with a cut on his hand that ultimately required 7 stitches between the knuckles.
They're playing Scotland the Brave. There were some rumors that they might play Hatikva, the Israeli national anthem, because Jacobs is a rare Jewish fighter. Remarkably little has been made of that. I haven't seen a single promotional release that remarked on that, which is sort of unusual.
Yeah, the subject arouses so little discussion that he said he was one of the 3 best Jewish fighters in the world and then couldn't name the other 2. But there's the record, 41 wins, 5 losses, 23 KOs, not a power puncher. Waited a long time to get this title shot.
He just passed his manager, Mickey Duff, who himself, as the son of a rabbi, was a fighter.
And we get ready for Pernell Whitaker to enter the ring, and here are a few of Whitaker's distinctions. You can see that he's won 83% of the rounds in his 16 championship fights. We've already mentioned he's one of 4 fighters to win titles in 4 different weight classes, the others being Leonard, Duran, and Hearns. He's fought 12 current or past champions, and there are still some others in the welterweight division for him to focus on down the road if he can get it done tonight.
I regard Pernell as sort of one of those rare flowers who blossoms 2 or 3 times a year, comes out, everybody has a chance to say how beautiful he is, he disappears and comes back a few months later, Roy.
That's the way you should do it. That way they remember the beauty.
So the record in championship fights, of course, the loss to Ramirez was hotly disputed and later avenged. And the September 1993 draw decision with Julio Cesar Chavez was almost unanimously condemned as a bogus decision. Wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. KOs. Last 9 title fights have gone the distance. This guy pitches shutouts. And now let's go up to ring announcer Michael Butler for the pre-fight introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Atlantic City's Convention Hall by way of Bally's Park Place Casino Hotel on the boardwalk here in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Tonight, Main Events presents the featured bout of the evening. This contest is sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard Sr., WBC Supervisor at ringside from the USA, Bob Bussey. The 3 judges assigned to score this bout on a 10-point must system are Takeyuki Kanaya from Japan, Gus Mercurio from Australia, and from Hawaii in the USA, Kamototsu Tamahara. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, referee from the United States, Mr. Ron Lipton. And now, ladies and gentlemen, by way of Bally's Park Place Hotel and Casino on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey, let's get ready to rumble! 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Welterweight Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing purple trimmed with gold and black, and weighing in at 147 pounds. He comes to us from Glasgow, Scotland, with a professional record of 41 victories, 23 by KO, against 5 defeats. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the number 1 ranked challenger in the world, Gary Kid Jacob! And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black, trimmed with red, and weighing in also at 147 pounds. This 1984 Olympic gold medal champion is one of only 4 fighters in boxing history to win 4 titles in 4 weight divisions. And he's considered by many to be, pound for pound, the best in the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting from Norfolk, Virginia, the 4-time champion of the world and reigning welterweight champion of the world, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
This is you, baby. This is you. Just the Chief second. Just the Chief second. Pete and the Chief second. Gentlemen, I've given you the rules of the World Boxing Council. I remind you now, there is no standing 8 count. If either fighter is in trouble and you do not want me to stop this bout, you must show me clearly that you can and want to continue. If you score a knockdown, be careful with the follow-up punches. Do not hit a man on the deck or you risk disqualification. On the champion's trunks, I'm calling this low here. On the challenger's trunks, he's wearing them quite high. Right on this mark, I'm considering low. Do you understand? No matter what happens, obey my commands. Good luck to you both. Jim, 9 years ago, an unknown welterweight from Britain named Lloyd Hunnigan came here to fight an unbeatable, quotes around unbeatable, Donald Curry, and actually beat him in a monster upset. And that's what the Brits and the Scots are hoping for tonight.
Hunnigan out-hustled Curry, and Jacobs has promised to do the same to Whitaker.
Lift your way up, no holding. No holding. Keep it clear. Nice professional work.
Uppercut by Whitaker, landed in close.
Watch your head. Watch your head.
Jacob is smart. This is the type of fight he would try to have with Whitaker all night long. This type of fight, he doesn't get hurt as much, and it allows him to be able to land a few more punches.
So you recommend that Jacob stays at close quarters with Pernell?
It would be very smart on his part, I think. Pernell is such a slick fighter. Until outside, I don't think Jacob really has much of a chance.
Jacobs coming in that time behind the lead left hand over the top. Statistically, Roy, he doesn't seem to establish the jab all that well. So how's he going to get back in once Pernell gets him out at punching distance?
He can either slip a punch, or he has shown a jab here early in this fight. Maybe he'll abandon it, but right now he is showing a decent jab.
Midway through round one, Jacobs beginning to establish some of his offense in the last 30 seconds. First minute belonged largely to Whitaker.
No hold. Work your way out. Early on, Roy, it looks like though Jacobs' plan is to go to the body and try to slow Sweet Pea down.
If he can keep this up, it'll be a much safer fight for him, because once he gets a little tired and starts to stay outside, Pernell will pick him apart. Jacob also seems to be a little bit stronger of a puncher than I thought he was.
Jacobs leaning in on Whitaker through much of the first round. Pernell stepping back, firing jabs and uppercuts. Jacobs with a pretty good right hand gets back inside.
The good right hook he's throwing at Whitaker. Whitaker is not used to seeing this because he hasn't fought very many southpaws.
Jacobs in that exchange beating Whitaker to the punch.
Stop punching. Step back. Full step. You've got to step back. Box.
Lead left hand over the top again for Jacobs. He's given Whitaker a little bit of everything to get inside here in the first round.
He's also, I think, Roy, a clever defensive fighter. It doesn't show so much, but he is being clever about not being there to be hit.
Right there you saw that if he stays outside of one of Pernell's punches, he will get caught.
But I think there's a good jab right now, okay? Here's a good jab on the outside. Step up. Now, see if you get inside. Start shooting uppercuts at him. Okay? Because he's down right now.
Try again.
You understand? Nothing to tell you. You did it all. Okay? Put in the wrist for a better first. You can land it. Trust me, you can land it. Don't forget, he's free, he's free.
There you are.
Jacobs was awkwardly and cleverly effective in the first round. Let's see if Pernell can solve his riddle.
Maurice Lewis, the trainer, telling Jacobs he could scarcely have had a better first round, and statistically, it looks as though he's right. Jacobs landing 42% of his punches. The norm against Whitaker is below 30%.
And most of this is because Jacob has stayed very, very close to Whitaker, which, at what I told you in the beginning, would be a very smart technique used by Jacob.
Even though he's a southpaw, Ray, Jacobs is one of those converted southpaws. He's right-handed. Stop punching. Step back, please.
And that's another reason I think that right hook may become a problem for Whitaker if he doesn't start blocking it.
Well, and if he can establish his jab at all, then that right hook becomes a little bit more effective as a change-up behind the jab.
I don't think Pernell will allow him to establish a jab, though.
He's trying.
Yes, and he's trying hard. Pernell shouldn't sit there and bang with him. Pernell should go back to his own game, and that is to box, hit, and not be hit. He doesn't Jacob allow this to be more of a Jacobs-type fight. And Jacob does not seem to have a left hand.
Throws it occasionally. We saw him lead with it there. By and large, when he's thrown the left, Roy, he's been leading with it.
And that's pretty smart because that would get him inside. And I think that's the only thing he really plans to do with it.
Whitaker starting to get more accurate with his jab here in the second round as he tries to step back to long range and pick Jacobs apart a little bit.
Like I said, if he stays outside, he can pick Jacobs apart, but he needs to stay outside. Pernell.
The accurate Whitaker jab starting to bring a mouse to the right eye of Gary Jacobs. Whitaker missed with the left. Crowd oohed and ahed.
Way up. Way up. the way out.
Hard right hand inside by Jacobs.
That's those elbows, Larry.
Good hook by Whitaker on the way in. And this, all this outside punching that Whitaker lands.
Stop punching.
Those are the most effective punches that is being landed in this fight right now. Whitaker's outside punching.
The more he lands of those, the more discouraging he'll be to Jacobs as Jacobs tries to come in. That's a push.
Okay.
An obvious push. Ron Lipton, the referee, rubs Whitaker's gloves.
Whitaker shouldn't get upset here. I think he's kind of a little upset because Jacob pushed him down. He shouldn't get upset. Just stick to his game, and he will eventually figure Jacobs out.
It's been a long time since Whitaker had a knockout in a title fight. Roy, do you think he's hungry for one?
I think he is because he seems to be sitting down his punches a little bit more here.
You see how you pushed him around? Huh? Good round, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Be the boss, the more aggressive you are. Controlled aggression. That was a good round again. It's okay. You're very well. If you put pressure on him, you'll get tired earlier. You understand? You feel good, right? Good, fine. That's all. That's all. I think he's got a position all the time to come right back. Come on, you jab. Come on up, baby. You don't do it, Ron. Very good now, baby. Don't get here, baby. Here, baby. You're saying from the 3-4 punch coming into the walk around that. That's the same thing I'm going to do on the outside. I'm doing a good jab, step around. But don't forget my face, though, right? If we've loved Pernell Whitaker for his perfection, you have to like Jacobs for his imperfection. He's making the most of his ability through 2 rounds.
And he done one thing that he said he would do, which was dictate the pace of the fight. To make Whitaker fight when Whitaker doesn't want to fight.
Yeah, he believes that Pernell likes to take time off in there and get a little rest from time to time.
There's that right hook again that I warned you about. Good jab.
Watch the elbow. Okay? Watch.
Jacobs blocking Whitaker's jab and then left hook to the body.
Work your way out.
Gary Jacobs is fighting a very smart fight here for himself. He landed a left, Whitaker countered with a left, but this is a very smart fight for Jerry Jacobs.
It's hard to imagine Jacobs doing any better.
Well, I can't say doing any better, but he could do worse by staying outside and letting Whitaker dictate the pace.
Absolutely. I think Jacobs is doing about as well as he can possibly do with what he's got. And he's in the fight in these first 3 rounds.
Stop punching. Step back. Full step back. Box.
That same right hook, Pernell needs to start putting his left hand up to his head when he sees Jacob come in, because he doesn't need to keep getting hit with that right hook.
Pernell countering inside and now fires the left cross.
Stop punching. Step back, please.
And I'm like you, I think he's very, very hungry for a knockout here.
If he is in fact hungry for a knockout, might he create some opportunities to Jacobs to score?
Well, he is creating opportunities for Jacobs to score, and he may find himself throwing less amount of punches than he plans to.
Okay. Box.
But he's still having fun, so.
Last time Pernell Whitaker scored a knockout in a title fight was 5 years, 15 days ago against Juan Nazario. That was at 135 pounds. Ron Lipton warning Jacobs to watch the head. He took his cue from Pernell Whitaker on that one. An aggressive Jacobs still dictating the pace.
Work your way out. Work your way out.
And Whitaker gets a left over the top.
We will find out about Jacobs' conditioning in this fight. We'll find out if he was telling us the truth about those miles that he was running yesterday, because this will be a tiring fight, especially because they're fighting so much on the inside.
Yeah, this is hard work.
Very hard work.
Step back. Box. Now at the back of the cage.
Little rabbit punch from Jacobs. He got one to the back of Whitaker's head and gets only a warning for it. If you don't do it again, that's good.
the play away from him now. Look, you got to out-hustle him on the inside now. Okay, he's trying to out-hustle you. Okay? And steal the confidence right away from him this now.
Come on, you gotta fight. Come on, gotta be this now. Coming out, he's to deal with. Don't worry about that. Let him go. Ronnie Shields, who is Pernell Whitaker's trainer now, understands exactly what's going on, and he's warning Whitaker not to let Jacobs dictate to him in those close quarters.
Step back clean.
Jacobs landing 51% of his punches in round number 3. Not too many at ringside would have anticipated that.
Most of this is because of the inside fighting.
Stop punching. Step back. Keep him up, Gary. Boss.
Larry, you mentioned Willie Mays being the best pound-for-pound baseball player you ever saw. You can get 2 for 1 here tonight. If you look to your left slightly, you can see the best pound-for-pound boxer you ever saw, too.
Where's that?
Roy Jones, bashful as always.
Well, I've only seen 2 fighters as good at their craft as Willie Mays was at his. Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali. Your career isn't over yet. We'll see.
There were some good moments for Jacobs there while you fellows were discussing Willie Mays.
Jacobs got caught with a good right hook by Pernell Whitaker on the outside, may I add.
Work the way out. Stop punching. Step back.
I think Pernell has made up his mind that he'll go ahead and make an inside fight out of this if this is what Jacob wants.
If Pernell hasn't trained to the max and properly conditioned himself for a 12-round test, Jacobs might steal a round or 2 here because he is clearly ready to work.
I'm sure Pernell has trained properly. I'm sure he's in the best of shape because he knows he has to come out and keep performing.
Step back clean.
Or else that pound-for-pound thing will leave.
Yeah, it'll be gone, won't it?
And he knows that. And I think that's what we help one another in this instance.
Stop holding. Stop punching. Step back clean. Okay. Stop holding. Stop holding. Box. Stop punching. Step back clean. Whole step. Box.
Crowd excited so far to see a battle, to see Gary Jacobs in the fight, toe-to-toe with Pernell Whitaker and making Whitaker work for every point.
I think Whitaker's punches are starting to show some effect on Gary Jacobs' face. I see a couple of bruise marks that I think is from good crisp punching from Pernell Whitaker.
Yeah, there's a bump by the side of Jacobs' right eye that could get bigger as things go on. Pernell can target that with the jab.
Stop punching. Step back.
Okay.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
Let's take a look at Whitaker's best punch so far, right on the big nose of Gary Jacobs. There you see it again from above. But so far, Mr. Imperfect is making Mr. Perfect look less than perfect.
Well, he's not really making it look less than perfect. He's just making it a rough night for Whitaker because he being a southpaw and Whitaker being a southpaw is enough problem. Then he's staying very close to Whitaker.
I think both eyes are swelling pretty rapidly now for Jacobs as Pernell starts to target Jacobs' face. Harold Letterman, how'd you score the first 3?
The first 4. I got it 2 rounds apiece, 38-38 in points. I got it even so far. I tell you, Gary Jacobs is in this fight. He's the aggressor. He's real good with that right hand. It's a strong right hand, giving Pete a lot of trouble on the inside. Also, he uses his elbows pretty darn good. He's got that elbow in Pete's head the whole fight. And Ron Lipton sees it, keeps warning him. But in any case, it's a rough fight. Gary Jacobs certainly is in it. It's very close up to now.
Came the elbow.
Second warning.
Second warning from Lipton. No penalty yet.
I have the fight scored the same way, Harold. I can't believe we agree.
Watch your head.
This could be frustration on the part of Gary Jacobs throwing the unnecessary elbows at Pernell Whitaker. Sometimes this shows that a fighter is starting to get frustrated because he can't have stuff his way. Or he could be getting fatigued, or he could start
Hard right hand inside by Jacobs. Or he could be thinking that he can anger and frustrate Whitaker and throw him off with such a tactic.
I don't think that's his opinion right now. I don't think those are his immediate intentions.
Okay.
Work your way out.
He's getting frustrated. He says Whitaker is holding him.
Stop punching. Step back clean. Box.
Punch-stat numbers through the first 4 rounds showed Whitaker throwing more, Jacobs landing at a higher percentage. Jacobs is trying to get in close before launching every punch.
He's hitting Pernell a little bit more than we expected, but like I said before, I think it's because of this southpaw stance. Oh, good shot.
4-punch combination for Whitaker.
Whitaker also is doing very good body work when they're on the inside.
Warning. Box.
Hard left hand over the top by Pernell.
Excellent counter.
Box. No holding.
If I'm correct, I think Gary Jacobs may have even been right-handed just now.
Stop punching.
Back to a southpaw stance now.
Hey, let him go.
Pernell a little angry at himself for missing a left hand over the top and talking to himself as round 5 comes to a close.
This is like trying to dance to grunge music. It's not very pretty.
You done a lot of dancing to grunge music, Larry?
Yeah, I have, isn't it? This is the time now to take over, all right? And before you let him really get into the fight, he's not in it, right? This is the time to take over because they're going to try and G him up. Understand? That's it.
They're going to tell me he's going to have to do something, right?
Let the shit go. When you throw that left hand over the top, bring the hook back. When you jab, turn your second shot under. When you duck around.
You gotta go, baby. You gotta go. Come on, 3-4 punches, step around. 3-4 punches, step around.
See that educated elbow as you saw in close. Jacobs threw an elbow to the chin of the champion. Let's see if Jacobs' corner is right. They're going to get something else out of Whitaker in this round because they think he's a little frustrated.
Round 6 of the scheduled 12. Whitaker was able to land a right hand as Jacobs backed away, and now here comes the Scotsman trying to get in close again.
There he was right-handed again, so I was right.
Work your way out.
Pernell is doing very good work on the inside, especially when he throws the body shots, the short body shots. They're very effective. I think this is starting to make Gary weaken just a little.
Stop punching. Step back clean. Nice and clean. Good. Box.
Great 1-2 combination from Whitaker there. Landed flush.
No holding it in.
Right hand backs Jacobs up again.
Work your way out.
Jacobs showing a pretty strong chin here.
Well, Pernell is not exactly gifted with punching power, Roy.
I think between them they couldn't scramble any eggs.
Full step back. Full step back. Watch those heads.
Jacobs getting in the hard right hand counter there.
Stop punching. Step back clean.
I say when you fight in 8-ounce red gloves, everybody can punch.
Well, but not everybody can finish, can they?
No, everybody can't finish.
Pernell's last title fight knockout was a one-punch puree of Juan Nazario. He hasn't come close to doing something like that since.
As you saw on the outside just then, Pernell was able to take away with 3 good jabs and hit Gary with a good left hand. If Gary stays outside, he will get taken apart.
Step back.
Not getting inside with as much frequency now as was the case in the first 3 rounds.
way up. That's it. Nice and clean, both of them.
People who don't understand boxing may not know what this means, but Pernell is in front of Gary Jacobs right now. He's starting to get off before Jacobs gets a chance. That's why he's being able to hit him more.
With an artist like Pernell, you expect that once he's had a chance to see Jacobs' mode of operation and figure out what he's got, he can pick his spots more easily.
And that's why now he's also staying out in front of Jacobs. He knows where Jacobs is going, so he's hitting him. Jacobs has a bad bruise over his right eye right now, too.
Yeah, the right eye's been swelling since early in the fight.
Okay. Focus. Stop holding.
They eventually impair Gary Jacobs' vision, though I don't think that's the case so far.
All right, this guy ain't got nothing left, man. This guy got nothing. All he's trying to do now is he's just on adrenaline because he's coming from Canada now. All right? He's on adrenaline only now, baby. Come on now, suck it up. Let's go. Okay? Everything quickly.
How do you feel? All right, here's down here. You're halfway there. Okay?
Now listen, he's full desperate that man to keep yourself in the fight. Now you've got to keep it up. You've got to keep up the work rate.
3 and 4, Gary. Don't keep looking for the singles. 3, 4 jabs. Bump, 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 bump. Yeah. You're strong as a horse. Come on.
If they hold you with one hand, hit him with the other.
Wait.
Pernell wanted to dazzle and shine in his words in this fight, but some guys don't let you dazzle and shine, Roy. The other guy has something to say about it.
That's the thing about fighting these awkward number 1 contenders. You don't know where they come from.
Stop punching.
You don't know what they know, what they don't know. You just don't understand anything that they seem to do.
Pernell Whitaker becoming more accurate with each succeeding round.
And as you can see, the range is starting to open up. He's not fighting as close as he was to Jacobs early in the fight.
Jacobs slowing down just a little bit. Whitaker able to use his footwork to stay ahead of Jacobs as they move around the ring.
Great 1-2 by Pernell Whitaker.
Hard left hand over the top, landed for Whitaker. Jacobs showing no ill effects, comes right back in.
Now you can see what I mean when I said Jacobs has no left hand. He had 3 jabs to land in a row, but he couldn't follow up with a good left because his left hand is just not that well taught.
Almost never throws it except when he leads with it.
Like I said, he was just using it as an instrument to get himself closer to Whitaker.
Stop punching. Step back clean. Full step.
Jacobs more and more in the position now of chasing Whitaker instead of beating him to a spot.
And this is Whitaker's fight. This is the fight they should have been fighting all along. But now, I guess Whitaker probably let him wear himself down a little, let him have his fun, and now Whitaker's starting to catch it.
Pernell's never had a knockout past the 6th round.
Jacob keep walking into this left hand, we will tonight.
Step back clean. Clean break. Box.
Same left hand.
More damage to the right side of Jacobs' face. Whitaker now beating Jacobs to the punch in virtually every exchange. Fight has markedly turned Pernell's way in these last 2 rounds.
Because Pernell is out in front of Jacobs now, and Jacobs just cannot catch back up. This is what you call having patience. This is what the great fighters always seem to be able to do. Have patience, let the guy do what he has to do for the first few rounds, then you take over and you dominate the rest of the fight. This is what Pernell is doing right now.
Jacobs flailing with the right to try to get in, and Pernell countering effectively with the right directly on Jacobs' chin.
Stop punching.
Baby.
Box. Work your way out. Work your way out. Protect yourself, both of you. Focus. Both of you.
Round 7 coming to a close.
How you got it, all right? All right. You're getting a little bit lazy, Gary. And so you got to remember, you got to work on the bases. You're nicking the fight, but you got to work on the bases. They're not going to do you any favors. All right? If they can nick off you, they will, and therefore you've got to do the work. Okay?
We better just get him involved with.
Give me the goggle, Maurice.
Can't miss him with the right hook, Pete. Can't miss him with the right hook.
Okay.
Come right back with that left hand.
Okay.
Right?
Look, when you get close, go with that uppercut and then bring the hook right back, all right? That's all. That's not the move. Keep busting over that good jab. That good jab.
He's telling the referee just now to let you fight. So when you get in there, all right? I'm right back with that
Keep the
hook.
face going at him, all right? He ain't got nothing else.
Sometimes a great athlete has more problems when the bar is lowered than when it's raised.
What's the way out? Yes, and the other athletes seem to be the problem.
Right.
Maybe the best favor we could do for Pernell this weekend was to bring Roy Jones to town and station him right here at ringside, where he can serve as a constant reminder to Whitaker what his central motivation is. That designation as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Harold Letterman, how'd you have it scored?
Jim, 68, 65, 5 rounds to 2, Pernell Whitaker. Jim, I agree with you. I think that he's just dominating this fight since about the 3rd round. I mean, Gary Jacobs comes in with that right jab, lunges forward, and gets nailed with a real good left hand, a good right hook. Pete's landing the cleanest, sharpest shots. But I want to tell you, the dude is terrified of the officials. 3 judges from outside the United States. You never know. They could be looking at the brawler. Hope you, no hope.
3 judges from outside the Continental 48. Harold, one of the 3 is from Hawaii.
Well, I'll go along with that.
All right, you must. Whitaker tripled up on Jacobs in power shots in round 7. He landed 18 power punches to 6 for Jacobs.
Jacob has slowed down a considerable amount. Now he can't land the punches he was landing earlier. Whitaker's body shots are starting to have a decent amount of effect on him, I think.
And Jacobs, who was able to get to Whitaker's body in the first couple of rounds, has been headhunting for the past 3 or 4. Taking hard punches like that for his trouble.
Stop punch!
And headhunting is usually another symptom of frustration setting in.
Which way out?
Whitaker taking his time here in round number 8. Jacobs coming in without punching, and you leave yourself open for stuff like that. No shortage of heart for Gary Jacobs, but the skill gap has been increasingly a factor in the fight.
Which way out? You're locked up. Stop punching.
Experience will start to set in here a little too. When a guy as experienced as Pernell in championship fights gets comfortable at this pace of the fight, everything starts to go his way. As you can see, Gary can't even land a punch.
Now you baby. How you doing it, baby? Now you
want you to do it. That's what I want you to let the bullshit with this guy, look, all right? Go ahead and bullshit with him. Go ahead and clown with him. But look, in the center of the ring, not on the roof, okay?
Here's the punch stat number profile of the first 4 rounds of the fight versus the second 4 rounds of the fight.
Okay?
And you'll see that in the first 4 rounds, Jacobs was quite competitive, throwing a similar number of punches and landing at a higher percentage than Whitaker. Now go down to rounds 5 through 8. Whitaker's percentage goes up, Jacobs' percentage goes down, as does his punch output. Those rounds belong entirely to Sweet Pea Whitaker.
Let's go out there and fight like the winner, son. Fight like the winner.
Don't do you think, Gary, save everybody and yourself a lot of aggravation.
All right, don't worry.
Go out and take it, gumshoe.
All right.
Round 9 begins. By punch stat numbers, Gary Jacobs was able to land only 6 of 39 punches in the 8th.
Gotta stop holding or someone's gonna lose a point. Box.
The corner told Jacob to go in and fight like a winner, but it's very hard to fight like a winner when you're in there against one of the best winners of all time.
I don't know what it means even. Well, fight like a winner. You got to give a guy some clue about what to do. That's a little bit more focused than just say fight like a winner.
You got a point there.
Yeah, maybe they're out of ideas.
Fight like a winner. Now you figure out how.
Any thoughts on this referee, Roy, Ron Lipton? We haven't seen him at this level before.
Well, he's doing a pretty good job right now. He didn't let them fight much on the inside at first, but I think he got some instructions from somewhere to let them fight more on the inside. So I say he's doing a real good job for his first time in my eyes.
I think Larry Hazard, the New Jersey commissioner, at one point suggested to the referee to let him fight a little bit more on the inside.
Jacobs with a chance here to make a statement as Whitaker waits in the corner, but Pernell loves to showboat in this situation and demonstrate his defensive skills, and he got away with one there.
People don't understand that when you showboat like this, it just gives you confidence, it just helps you get more into what you're doing, and it makes the fight much more fun for us than as to other athletes.
So he's entertaining himself.
Yeah.
And staying motivated for the last 3 rounds of the fight.
That's right, because it's very hard sometimes to stay motivated when you fight a guy such as Gary Jacobs.
Pernell says, what am I going to do with this guy? He's like a camel. You don't know where to sit on him.
Work away. Sit on the hump, you got a better view. That's the punch you should be using right there. And notice Jacobs is on the outside now. He's not trying hard to get in like he was earlier.
Right, he doesn't have a chance out here.
Right.
Pernell Whitaker from the outside can school Gary Jacobs. That's what he's doing.
Stop push. Step back.
Down, and it's not getting any better for Scotsman Gary Jacobs against Sweet Pea Whitaker.
Okay? Yeah. All right. That guy, you're going to do it. Give him the goggles. Give him the goggles.
Don't let me get the bucket.
He wants to jump off there.
He's walking right in. You can't miss this guy. The combination. Stay touching. We ain't got to do nothing fancy with this guy. Okay. As soon as we get close, go with the hooks. Okay. The hooks are right there all day long.
No problem.
All right? Let's go on this round. What you did the last round. You understand? All right.
Please.
That's it. Nice and progressive.
That was the first time I seen Whitaker get hit with that hook in a couple of rounds now. And that's very good because he did start to defend against it. I saw him catch him in his gloves a couple of times. And those are the type of adjustments that true champions know how to make during the course of a fight.
Stop punching. Step back.
You heard Ronnie Shields telling Whitaker to wait for Jacobs to walk in and then hit him with hooks. Whitaker content now to stand away from Jacobs and simply pop him with the jab over and over.
Keep him up, Gary. Stop punching. Keep him up. Pots.
Jacobs with enough energy left to punch his way in again.
Go up the back of his head, Gary. Work your way out.
Being right-handed, I can imagine that Gary Jacobs has a very hard right jab.
Step back, please. No punching on the break. Let me get out. Box. Work your way out. Your hands are free. Fight well.
Well, he's clearly one of those natural right-handers who expects that fighting as a southpaw will maximize the effect of his jab and his hook.
Yeah, but it's very hard to get your shoulder cocked to throw a power shot when your shoulder's already forward at your opponent.
Michael Moore is a natural right-hander who fights southpaw. De La Hoya is a natural southpaw who fights right-handed.
Both have developed power hands, though. Michael Moore has a very good straight left, even though he's right-handed.
And De La Hoya can throw the right cross.
Right.
And this guy has not developed his left hand
At all. So he's like a one-handed fighter with the powerful hand being in front.
And there's a hard right hand from Jacobs that backs Whitaker up into the ropes.
Yes, but he also ate a left hand.
Whitaker lashing back. Another hard left hand for Pernell. He's been able to land his left cross consistently for the last 7 rounds.
Stop. I'm telling you to keep off the back of his head, okay? Go! Box!
Hard work with the right hand there by Gary Jacobs, keeping himself mentally in the fight. Whitaker again takes advantage of Jacobs rushing in.
Right? Over here. All right, then, baby. Let's go. Come on, let it down, baby. Let it down. Both hands moving. Keep the hand moving. Both hands. Keep trying to put over here.
Step back. Take a look at an exchange here. A right hook by Jacobs, followed by a left hook by Whitaker. Work your way out.
The Jacobs right was one of his best punches since early in the fight. And you heard Mickey Duff pleading with his fighter to come up with something new that'll change his life. Harold Letterman, how'd you score the first 10?
Jim, 97-93, 7 rounds to 3, Pernell Whitaker. I think he's landing the cleaner, harder shots. Gary Jacobs is rushing in with that right hand, landing an occasional good right hand. Once in a while a left, he's got a very poor left hand. But for the better part, it's all Pernell Whitaker.
And they're calling it a knockdown.
5, 6,
And that makes 3 consecutive title defenses, or 3 consecutive title fights, I should say, in which Pernell Whitaker has been knocked down. Knocked down by Buddy McGirt at this weight. Knocked down at 154 pounds by Julio Cesar Vasquez. And now Gary Jacobs is credited with an 11th round knockdown of Pernell Whitaker here.
Well, I think the referee really didn't know what had happened. And when he saw Whitaker hit the canvas, I think this gave him an indication that maybe Whitaker was mad at himself for getting knocked down. If Whitaker didn't get knocked down, I think it was a slip.
I think he was thrown and slipped.
I don't know what happened. I didn't see any punch that looked like a knockdown punch.
Well, it's Rashomon here. We've got 3 different versions, right?
Right.
I say throw and slip. Roy says slip. And you say who knows.
The replay will tell all. But it'll still count as a knockdown no matter what the replay shows.
5th time in Pernell Whitaker's career that he's been knocked to the canvas. Rafael Williams, Roger Mayweather, Buddy McGirt, Julio Cesar Vasquez, and now Gary Jacobs.
stop pushing. Step back.
But he doesn't stay down. Oh, he hurt Jacob again.
And he decides that what's good for the goose is good for the gander, so down goes Jacobs.
There's a very bad cut now.
Yep.
Jacobs' eyelid, over Jacobs' eyelid, right eyelid, but it isn't bleeding.
Oh, and Pernell is able to target the right eye again with that roundhouse left.
Jacob is very weak now. Pernell can knock him out if he catches him with a good, clean left hand. But he had to time it.
Jacobs appears to have given just about all he's got. Next to last round here. Crowd chanting, "Sweet pea, sweet pea, sweet pea." Maybe hoping that he'll get angry enough to try for a knockout.
Well, we're going to take a look at that alleged knockdown. Let's see what happens. Nothing happened. It was a right to the rib, to the high rib, and it was a kind of a push and a half punch. It certainly was not a knockdown.
He was off balance because he missed with a big power shot.
Right. It would count as a knockdown. It wasn't a knockdown.
Get Tim here. Come on. Look. All right, let's go. Come on. Let's go out there and put those rules on this board, all right?
Don't take no chances. Fight the way you want to fight. Understand? But don't take no chances.
You want to show them. Come on, man. Come on.
Move those hands. Move those hands. Move those hands.
British fans in the crowd chanting for their man, Gary Jacobs. Ron Lipton holds the fighters apart, and now round 12 begins.
One thing I also like about Pernell Whitaker, even though he didn't get knocked down in that round, was besides him, Larry Holmes, Felix Trinidad, maybe the best three fighters that I've ever seen at coming back from a knockdown.
Felix Trinidad, a hard-punching welterweight star. Ike Cortez, another one in that division. You sincerely hope that before Pernell Whitaker finishes his career, we'll get a chance to see him in the ring with Corte and Trinidad.
Both which would be very good fights. Both fighters are very good fighters. Both would bring out the best in Pernell, and this is what people like he and myself like to see.
Both have the punching power to raise questions about Whitaker's chin.
Yeah, but those big punches usually get caught up on trying to get to Whitaker's chin, and they never hit him.
Whitaker seems interested, at least, in doing as much damage as he can do here in the 12th round. Jacobs holding on.
He has beaten Gary's body to where Gary's really weak now.
Let him go. Hey! Stop punch. Clean break. Box.
Gary wore himself out early with his own style of fighting. Whitaker sat back, had the patience, let him wear himself down, then now he's taking him to food.
So it's one thing to run 4-minute miles, but yet another to go 12 rounds with a fighter the caliber of Whitaker.
Hold it. Box.
As they say, this ain't no track meet.
It's a swap meet.
Stop. One point.
And they were swapping fairly evenly early, and now Lipton takes a point away from Gary Jacobs for holding and hitting.
Which is not really effective because he's taken a very good school lesson today, and he will be taking it for the rest of this fight.
Well, that makes up for the no knockdown. Right? We're even.
Yeah.
Pounding away as the fight comes to a close.
Stop punching. Step back.
Crowd cheering as though it would have liked to have seen 12 rounds of this. But Pernell had to soften Gary Jacobs up for a while.
Oh, there you go.
It became possible.
I told you. 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at it. Are you okay? Step forward. Fight should be stopped. He knows how to close the show.
Like I told you, if he kept walking into the left hand, he was going to go down.
Fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round under these rules. So Whitaker could still go for the knockout right there at the end, but Jacobs got up before the count of 10.
And that becomes a 3-point round for Pernell Whitaker. 2 points for those knockdowns. 1 point taken away from the challenger. Okay?
Pernell Whitaker treating his fans to a display of punching power to punctuate this 12-round performance against Gary Jacobs. And I think think Whitaker enjoyed that there at the end?
I think he did too, because people have been questioning his punching power lately, and he wanted to show that he still possessed some knockout power.
He wanted to show you. He turned around and looked directly at you as soon as he got Jacobs onto the canvas.
Well, like I said, we are one another's inspiration right now. We make one another want to desire to be the best that we can be. And that helped Pernell out, and it will help me come September 30th when I stop all mail delivery by knocking out the postman.
The punching postman Tony Thornton against Roy Jones here on HBO the evening of September 30. Too bad you won't be able to do commentary while you fight him.
Well, I can help you out a little. Just watch my mouth every now and then.
Okay. I'll do the lip reading. Larry Merchant has gone into the ring to get ready for post-fight interviews. So, Roy, let's go through these replays. This is where Whitaker hurts him.
A counter left hand over the top of the jab, which Whitaker had been landing all night. Boom. There's the left hand. I told you if Gary kept walking into the left hand, there would be a knockdown or a knockout. He walked right into it, and he got knocked down.
Now, here's the second knockdown. And frankly, Lipton could have stopped it to protect Gary Jacobs from further punishment at any time.
Yeah, because Whitaker was hitting him with some very clean power shots. And right there you can see it's just follow-up work, which is the way you're supposed to finish a guy.
I'm sure as a matter of pride that Jacobs wanted to finish the fight, but Lipton certainly wouldn't have been beyond his best judgment if he had gone ahead and effected a stoppage there and given Pernell a 12th round KO. And now let's go up to the ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official particulars on this decision. And we're going to have a brief delay as there's apparently a commission problem. Could be that some of the judges were confused by the ending of the bout and wondering whether Lipton did in fact rule a KO. Gary Jacobs, terrific guy. We really enjoyed talking with him yesterday.
Very nice guy, something that you rarely see in boxing nowadays.
Oh, come on. They're everywhere, Roy.
Yeah, they are.
And here's Pernell basking in some appreciation from his fans. Mickey Duff talking with Larry Hazard of the commission. Duff is the manager of Gary Jacobs, and obviously he feels as though he has an argument to mount here.
Hey, Mickey.
I watched Pernell Whitaker walk the boardwalk for about 45 minutes yesterday, Roy, and only a few people wandered up to say hello. He has never gone hard for the celebrity aspect of this. He thinks of himself simply as a professional fighter, not necessarily a celebrity or a star. Final punch stat numbers, and you can see that Pernell got himself up to 45% as a connect percentage in the fight. Jacobs, who was close to 50% for the first 4 rounds, winds up down at 38%. Jabs, and Pernell dominated this category, throwing 75 more jabs and landing 53 more than Gary Jacobs. And now Michael Buffer is ready for the official particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we go to the scorecards. Gus Mercurio scores the bout 118 to 109. Komatsu Kamihara scores the bout 118 to 107. And Takeaki Kanaya scores at 117 to 109 for the winner by unanimous decision, and still welterweight champion of the world, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
36 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw now. The official record for Whitaker. Unofficially, you can look at him as being 38-0, since most of us believe that he's won every one of those fights in which he was involved. 10th straight 12-round decision in a title fight, although apparently the delay in announcing this decision had to do with the belief on the part of some commission members that Whitaker had indeed scored a knockout there at the end of the 12th round. But in the end, no KO, another unanimous decision, and another chance for our Larry Merchant to talk to Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. Larry?
Pernell, congratulations. So are you disappointed, or how disappointed that wasn't scored as a knockout?
Well, not disappointed, but a little. You know, I could have stood the knockout.
I mean, it was a kind of ugly fight for you, wasn't it? And that might have made it prettier?
Well, no, it wasn't really ugly fight. You can't take anything away from Gary Jacobs. You know, everybody trains hard for the best. So, you know, I give him credit for all the real hard work that he put up. That's why I say I never take anyone for granted.
How frustrating was it in against a kind of mauling, brawling southpaw?
I love that kind of game. You know, I got different. You know, it's not the way. It's not styles beat fighters. So, you know, I just had to suck it up. You know, just see what he had, and then be able to all counter it later in the round.
All right, we're going to take a look at those knockdowns at the end of the 12th round. You saved the best for last. Was that deliberate, or did he just leave himself exposed trying to get to you at the end?
It's a matter of time, Larry. You know, I was trying to set myself up for those shots all night, but you know, it was a little awkward at first. And then, you know, once I found him, you know, starting from the bottom, once I found him, you know, it was no problem from there. You know, and I hit him with everything. I don't know why he got up.
Well, do you think that those two knockdowns might have saved your belt as the best pound-for-pound fighter around?
No, not at all. I don't think so, Larry. You know, it was a great another one of my perfect performances. And, you know, nothing, like I said, nothing can take away from pound-for-pound because the fans vote that, you know. And if everyone that watched it on HBO saw Pernell Whitaker one more time.
That's our station. Let me ask you this then finally. There are several fights out there that would seem to be really good, big fights for Pernell Whitaker. We're talking about Chavez, of course, who we've talked about for quite a long time, a rematch. And, of course, two very good, young, undefeated welterweights in their own right, Felix Trinidad and Ike Quartey. Your thoughts about them? Who would you like to fight next, first, second, whatever?
It really doesn't matter to me, Larry. You know, I never duck or never choose who I fight. You know, and the next, you know, is once everybody comes together, you know, we'll get somebody on the table or someone to sign without shaking their hands.
But who do you want most?
Well, obviously the fight is, you know, for the fans. The Chavez fight, you know, that's the only reason why I'm still fighting. I think the fans deserve to see Pernell Whitaker, and I fight to entertain the fans. You know, everything's been completed for Pernell Whitaker. I'm just having fun.
Thank you very much, Pernell. And now back to you guys at ringside.
All right, thanks very much, Larry. So you heard the discussion there about possible future opponents. Obviously, Julio Cesar Chavez, Ike Quartey, Felix Trinidad, we'd love to see any of those three fights, but now there's discussion of a possible date with a newly refurbished Hector Macho Camacho for Pernell Whitaker. Would Camacho have any chance against Sweet Pea?
Yes, he'd have a chance, mainly because of his hand speed and because of the fact that Camacho is also a southpaw. Sometimes when two southpaws hook up, it can be a very interesting night.
Is there a timetable for Whitaker with regard to young fighters like Trinidad and Quartey? Does he run a risk of getting too old for those guys if he doesn't go ahead and do that business pretty soon?
Yes, he does run a risk of getting too old, but right now, I think Whitaker is looking just as good as he ever has. He doesn't get hit much, which is good, and this type of stuff will allow him to be able to stick around for many, many, many more years.
You feel like he gave you something to shoot for in your ongoing battle for best pound-for-pound in the sport?
Well, he always gives me something to shoot for. If he would have just came up in here and just came out with a W, however he does it, he gives me something to shoot for.
All right, Roy, we'll see how you do on September 30th. Thank you very much for being with us. Looking forward to seeing you then. Larry Merchant back with us. Your final thoughts on yet another route-going, title-defending performance for Pernell Whitaker.
Well, my first thought is seeing Willie Mays at ringside, and that some days the pitchers won't pitch to you and nothing seems to happen. Nobody hits you any fly balls to look great on, and you're scuffling out there, but in the ninth inning you hit one out of the ballpark and you win the game. And that's what Pernell Whitaker did. Not every fighter can be his best at every fight or look his best. The opponent does have something to say about it. Gary Jacobs was a game, awkward, sort of cleverly good defensive fighter, gave his best shot, but the best shots in the end were Pernell Whitaker's. And I said earlier also that we see Pernell Whitaker as a flower who blossoms every 2 or 3 times a year. A little bit of blues on this blossom this time, but we'll see him again, and we'll see him dazzle us once more.
Let me ask you the same question I asked Roy. Should there be a timetable for Whitaker to get at younger opponents like Felix Trinidad and Ike Quartet? Does he run a risk of getting too old for those guys?
I think in a sense, yes. I don't care how good you are. This is the age where Sugar Ray Robinson slowed down a little bit. But what happened at that point was the other fighters were then able to compete with him. And Sugar Ray Robinson had most of his greatest and most dramatic fights after he slowed down so that the other guys could be there with him. And so I think we'll see those young men fighting Pernell Whitaker, and I think probably there will be some very dramatic fights ahead for him.
Presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.